Fishing is fun, but hooking is the only way. We're gonna show you how to catch some fish today.
So guys, this report's for November 2nd. But first of all, I want to tell you a little bit about myself. I've been in the fishing industry for over 30 years. And a lot of the information I get, I'm giving you guys, is from guides, local guides. I do fishing 3 or 4 times a week myself. I got friends, talk to customers, and I'm giving you the information that's pretty current. So I do 2 videos a week. On Mondays, I do a video just about what's going on locally, teaching you a lot of things about fishing. And then on Wednesday, I have my report. So let's get on with this report. The number one thing coming up right now is crabbing on our coast out in the ocean. There's a lot of regulations that came out and you need to know it. There'll be no pots or no cages. So anything that's enclosed, it's illegal. So you have to use nets. And the best one is the lobster net that has the conical. That one they can't get out. You can only soak for 2 hours and then you have to pull the traps up and you have to take them home when you leave. You can't leave anything out. You can't do any soaks. So right now, those are the regulations. The commercial fishing is not going to open until December 1st. So if you want some crab for Thanksgiving, you're going to have to go out and get it yourself. The party boats are still working. You know, you could get on one of those guys' boats and, you know, and get your crab or your own boat. So our local season for crabbing opens November 5th, this Saturday, coming up Saturday. And, you know, weather permits, it should be really good out there. You know, usually on the first day, if you're soaking in like anywhere from 60 to 100 feet, you should do pretty good. And then, you know, maybe after the whales are gone or they don't see any, like last year they opened up the pots, but it only opened for like a month and then they shut it down again. So watch the rules. You know, you could call your local bait shops. They usually, on the computer where we do our license, it tells us when they open and close. So that's coming up. It's going to be a really good season this year. It always is on the opening day. Other things going on in the ocean, rock fishing has been off the hook because the lingcod come in shallow to spawn. So you could catch them anywhere from 30 to 100 feet of water. And all the boats that are going out are getting lingcod. They're getting limits pretty easy. And the fish are been like 8 to 25 pounds. So it's a good grade of fish out there. Rock fishing is really easy. You could catch a lot of those using your shrimp flies. I use a lot of irons, you know, like 3-ounce iron, and I catch a lot of them on there. The kayakers are going up to by Timber Cove or right around Fort Ross, and they're because you don't have to go out very far, and they're catching a lot of rockfish. So right now, this weekend, rock fishing and limits of bottom fish sound really good. Other things going around in the salt, there's still some halibut being caught. The albacore has really died down, but there's halibut in the bay. You probably have to use tray bait because I don't know if the receiver is open still or not, but I don't think they are. And then as you come in to the Delta a little bit, the striper season's been picking up pretty good. We were down there last week and got into a pretty good bite. In fact, I was there the other day with a couple of my employees and we caught quite a few. We probably had maybe 15 or 20 keepers, but we had a lot of fish. But the biggest one was probably about 7 or 8 pounds. So there's a lot of them coming in. You're gonna see guys posting that they are catching a lot of stripers. Caught these 2 decent ones today on the Mega Puppy, the new topwater lure. That's great action. The bass fishing in the Delta slowed up a little bit, but they're still catching some, but it's slow. I think what's happening is the water cooled down too fast. It dropped probably about 8 or 9 degrees this last week. So you got to give them a week to get adjusted and they'll start feeding again.
Mr. Dave Clark Jr. was just saying on a Senko, you can't catch a big fish anymore.
Oh, God damn. Said the big ones are still around.
Oh! my God! He's. Oh my God!
Come on, somebody needs it. Alan wants him to get off. I work.
You bring your scale? I guarantee
left
you.
it at home.
Things happening though is the crappie. The crappie down in the delta is starting to pick up pretty good in the North Delta. There's a lot of fish being caught. You're using bobbers because there's so much grass that you have to keep that bait suspended. And the bite's been pretty good, but the size of the crappie aren't that big. They're, you know, maybe the big ones are the size of your hand, but they're starting to move in. The water temperature is like 63 degrees now, so they're starting to move in. I've found that when the water temperature gets in the 58 to 60 degrees, it gets really good. Those crappie start moving in. So if you guys are gonna be doing some crappie fishing down the delta, look back at the videos I did. I did some videos earlier where I showed you how to locate them, how to use a bobber, what kind of jigs I was using. And I also showed you how to clean them and fry them. They're very tasty. But some of the other things going on locally, crappie-wise, has been the lakes, especially berryessa. We were up there last week and we started doing a lot of offshore things. Look at this last Monday and watch the video that I did, because I do a lot of things with my electronics. If I didn't have it, I wouldn't be able to find those things. But I'm looking for offshore structure. In the video, I show you how I do it. And I locate it, I go over there, and I drop my live down. I can actually see the tree and the crappie all over and seem to catch them. The other day we went, we located them. Denise cast it out. The first one she caught was over 2 pounds. And then we were catching, you know, they are averaging 1 to 2.5 pounds that day. The crappie are huge there. And we also caught a lot of perch or bluegill or whatever you want to call them. They're actually bigger than my hand. So those kind of things, finding the structure offshore where nobody's beating it to death. Because if you go fishing, you always see boats on the bank and you never see anybody out in Timbuktu. Well, we just started going out looking for that kind of stuff, and it's untouched. So there's a lot of fish out there to be caught. But your electronics are such an important tool when you're doing this kind of thing. So maybe watch that video this last Monday and you'll learn how I do it. So one of the hottest things going on right now down here in the Delta is sturgeon fishing. So Steve Mitchell with Hooked Up Sport Fishing, he's been catching limits pretty easy, and they've been getting a lot of nice slot size and oversized fish. I'm sure Jay Lopes has been getting them too. So right now down in the Delta, you know, and I know those guys are using roe. And one of the things is people are asking, hey, do you know what they cure that roe with? And you know what, if you have fresh roe, you really don't need to cure it. It seems to work very well without being cured. But they are catching a lot of sturgeon. So other things going along down in the Delta, you can come in a little further. Salmon scene's kind of dying out. You know, they're catching some fish in the McCollum, but the fish are starting to turn. You could tell that, you know, they've been in the river system a little bit. So that I think that kind of fishing, the salmon fishing, is kind of like coming to a halt. So let's go down to our lakes. So the lake fishing, the bass fishing's been really good because the temperatures, the fall's coming around, shad are starting to ball up. And Rick's, who owns Bladerunner, was up at Folsom the other day and they killed them. They had a lot of bass in that 3 to 4 pound range. They also spooned a catfish that looked like it was probably around 8 pounds. But Don Paganelli, he's been going to berryessa and catching, you know, a lot of bass spooning. And those guys have both been fishing in around 35 to 45 feet. But the bass fishing's been really good. Other things going on locally is trout. All the lakes are starting to plant. Comanche's starting, pardee's been planting, amador's planting, and they all start planting pretty heavy now because the water temperatures have dropped into the mid 60s. So if you guys want to go trout fishing, you could go to any of the Motherlode Lakes and catch a lot of trout. So guys, my tackle tip for this week is something out of the ordinary. And what it is like if you're using light tackle, so I'm using like 4 or 6 pound tests, and I've been leaving my rods in my room, you know, and not using them. And what happens is when you start casting, you're gonna see the coils in your line. So what happens is when you're using 1/16, 1/32 ounce jigs, crappie fishing especially, or trout fishing, and you cast it out and you start retrieving it slow, those curls in your line are gonna make your lure do loop-to-loops. So you're not gonna catch very much. So always make sure that your line is fresh when you first start out that year, so when you cast it out, it stays straight. And one of the things that I always get asked at work is, how do you put your line on? So when you guys buy in spools and you put your line on, you lay it flat and you hold it and you reel real fast and you stop. And if it's really curled where it's twisted, take the spool and turn it over. Label up doesn't matter. They put the label on either side. So then flip it over, reel again real fast and stop, and you'll see that the curls are elongated like this, so it's on correctly. So make sure you put it on right and put fresh line on, because if that line is curly like that, you're not going to be catching too many fish. So guys, if you like the videos that I'm putting out, please hit the like. I appreciate it if you hit that subscribe button, because it'll help my channel out a lot. If you look on the bottom corner, you click there, you can leave me a comment, and I'll usually answer within 2 or 3 days. So thank you guys for watching, and I'll see you next week.
Fishing is fun, but hooking is the only way. We're gonna show you how to catch some fish today.